Namaste. Hello and a warm welcome. Welcome to Akanksha's YouTube channel Multidimensional Soul and this audiobooks and talk series dedicated to Akanksha's son and spirit guide Arnav. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, do subscribe, like and share this knowledge and wisdom. Do share your experiences in the comments. What resonates with you the most? What insights do you receive from these teachings? Let's keep this energy of knowledge and wisdom flowing as the energy loves to move, and this is an energy exchange. Spiritual selfishness versus evil selfishness. The soul is the true self, the pure manifestation of spirit within you. The ego is the pseudo-self, the soul responding to the world of duality while in a state of identification with the limited instruments of the physical body and mind. For the purpose of discussion, let us say that anything you do for the benefit of yourself, either as the soul or the ego, may be called selfishness. In this usage, evil selfishness is that which you think you are doing for the good of yourself, but which goes against the interest of your true self. Good selfishness, spiritual selfishness, consists of those actions by which the pure self within you can be realized. It helps you continuously to manifest the perfection of that innate image of spirit. Selfishness is characterized by different gradations. The actions of a child are performed more or less unthinkingly. When he sees somebody else playing with different toys, he wants to possess them. He wants to eat this thing or to do that thing because he sees someone else enjoying it. This is unconscious selfishness. I watched this reaction in my own childhood. When I was very little and saw others playing with something, my first thought was to possess it. But soon I found that whenever I wanted something, there was always somebody else trying to get it or hold on to it. So, I began to exert my strong will to possess what I wanted. But when this brought about fights with others, I wondered if it was right to assume such an attitude. My mother used to say, when giving some special treat of food to me, share this with somebody else. Initially, my reaction was that she was trying to give me less. But immediately I began to picture in my mind, well, if I like this food so much, maybe somebody else would also like it. So, I decided I should share. Then came the thought, if I share with everybody, there will be nothing at all left for me. That began to puzzle me. But my experience was that if I shared with others, then I enjoyed more. The joy received from sharing was even greater than the joy I got from the thing I had shared. That is why I have always parted with whatever I have loved. Whenever some possession was wanted or needed by somebody else, my mind would say, well, he is sick with this desire. You were healed of your wish for it, so now let him have that benefit. One by one I gave away everything that came to me, and my joy was multiplied. When I wanted something and got it, I enjoyed, and when I gave it to somebody else, I enjoyed it again. No desire has ever been permitted to take possession of my soul. That would be contrary to the ideal of spiritual selfishness for the welfare of my true self. Never love anything so much that it possesses you. The idea of possession is a false notion. Whatever you give out, you will attract in kind. What you are will show in your countenance and actions, and others will feel the underlying vibration and respond accordingly. If you set an example of evil selfishness, others will want to take everything from you. But if you are the opposite, you will find everybody inclined to be generous toward you. Suppose you give me your favorite walking stick, and in return I want to give you something. But my mind says, you can't part with your umbrella, even though you know he has admired it. Then I reason, he loved his stick, yet he gave it to me, so, I wish to give him something I value. That is the spirit which predominates when a person shows unselfishness. You cannot own anything. You are only given temporary use of things on this earth. Sometime you will have to part with them, either by accident or theft or deterioration or death. So, when you try to hold on to or save anything just for the sake of possessing, you are fooling yourself. Even this bodily house that you have lived in for so many years must one day be relinquished. So it is wrong to impose on the soul a conviction that you own something you cannot ever own. When something is given to you, know that it is yours only for a little while, and be willing to share it with others. Great trouble lies in coveting more than you need. The Gita says, that person realizes peace who, relinquishing all desires, exists without craving and is unidentified with the mortal ego and its sense of the mindness. Sup 1/Sup. No doubt you must have necessary necessities such as food, clothing, and some material security, but in aspiring after these, omit unnecessary necessities, the nagging desires that crave more and more. The world family is your greater self. Always have in your mind the ideal that while you are laboring for your own needs, you will help others acquire what they need and will share with those less fortunate what you receive. Remember that you are a part of the world family, and you cannot exist without it. What would life be like without the carpenter or inventor or farmer? Through interchange, God wants us to think of others. It is a grave error to live only for oneself. Whenever you think of your own happiness, think also of giving happiness to others. You are not asked to give away everything for the welfare of your world family. That is impossible. But you should have consideration for others even as you have for yourself. God intended that man should thereby be truly spiritually selfish, serving his greater self in others. But the first, and often the last, thought of the ordinary man is for himself. Self-preservation is a strong instinct. The world creates in us that delusion of self-preservation by which we limit ourselves to our own bodies and those things we consider our own. However, everybody is our own, for God is our Father, and we are all His children. God gave man intelligence and imagination that he might remember when he is cold or hungry that there are others around him who also know what it is to be cold or hungry. So in seeking your own comfort, reach out to provide comfort for others also. Since you yourself do not like misery, you should assist those around you in order to allay their misery. They suffer just like you, and some even more so. If you say about your family and close friends, well, these people are mine, and I include in my happiness only them and no more, then you limit yourself and your misery starts to increase. Keep yourself ready to help others and find happiness in giving happiness to whoever crosses your path. Do not think of it as having to practice unselfishness. That makes it seem something hard to do. Rather, feel that what you are doing is for your own pleasure, the joy you find in removing the unhappiness of others, physically, mentally, or spiritually. Without evil selfishness, the world would be heaven. The whole world would be heaven today if it had given up evil selfishness and followed spiritual selfishness. In the error of evil selfishness lies the cause of all wars. First came stone clubs and then bows and arrows to protect one's own selfishness against the selfishness of others. Then guns were invented, then machine guns, and now bombs and poisonous gases, all to protect the selfishness of one group of people against the selfishness of another group. Man's potential destructive power has grown much more than his constructive power. The boil of evil selfishness must eventually come to a head. But more bodies will have to be broken before man comes to the realization that national selfishness is just as evil as personal selfishness. A nation is built of small communities, and they are built of individuals. The right ideals must begin with the individuals, and you must begin with yourself. See what happened because of evil selfishness: wars in Spain and China, and the Depression. This country, America, first had national selfishness in which for years she enjoyed prosperity. Similarly, India in her golden age was extremely prosperous. But the karmic consequences of selfishness and pride, resulting in the misuse of the caste system, caused India to lose her freedom. America must not abuse her freedom nor forget her spiritual ideals of equality, or she could suffer a similar karmic fate. Prejudice based on race and skin color is one of the worst forms of selfishness. Climatic conditions will change, so that in the distant future much of the Western populace could well become dark-skinned, and those of the East become the white race. The boundaries and governments of the world are everlastingly subject to change. This country, for example, belonged to the native Indians before you claimed it, and in the ages to come, many, many others will yet hold title to it. Great Britain was once ruled by Rome. Genghis Khan conquered most of Asia, but where is he now? This is the paradox of the earthly drama. It is God's creation and we own nothing in it. What a great error it is to propagate misery through the evil selfishness of a false sense of possessiveness. Selfishness that seeks happiness with no consideration for the happiness of others, or that tramples on and destroys the rightful interests of others for its own ends, proliferates unhappiness. That is what is happening in America today. Everybody had good jobs and there was plenty. But now the big industries are taking prosperity from the little ones, and the little ones are trying to undercut the big ones. Profiteering is a great mistake. Communism, which on the surface expounds the good of the masses, will not work because it is based on suppression and force. But what Jesus and all truly great ones teach is unselfishness based on spiritual willingness to share. That method avoids evil individual selfishness in business and communities. When your neighbors and your nation will be your own self, then you will have spiritual selfishness. If you look only to the welfare of the hands and feet and do not look after your head, your brain will not work to guide your motor skills. You must harmonize the working of the entire body. Similarly, the brains, executives, of the nations must work harmoniously with the hands and feet, labor. When they are divided in their interests, there is bound to be disorder and suffering. You do not want labor to take control, for then you will have communism, and you do not want the capitalists to have sole rule, for then you will have dictatorship. There must be a balance, and that equilibrium will never be perfect without individual unselfishness. The joy in being unselfish. Jesus Christ gave up his body for all, but he is enjoying eternal life. In being unselfish, he was looking after his spiritual selfishness. You also must be able to give up your evil selfishness for a higher selfishness. Use your imagination. Materially you will not lose anything, mentally you will not lose anything, but by evil selfishness you will lose everything. In this world there are two teachers. If you take God as your mentor, you will have a wonderful time, but if you choose the devil as your guide, you will have bullets of misery. The key word for most people as they go through life is myself. The spiritual man, on the other hand, thinks equally of others. Those who think only of themselves attract enmity from their associates. But those who are thoughtful find others wanting to be thoughtful of them. If there are 100 people in a town and each one is trying to take from the other, each one has 99 enemies. But if each one is trying to help the other, each one has 99 friends. I have lived that way. I haven't lost anything by giving up everything. I have gained. The words of Jesus are wonderful. Everyone that hath forsaken all for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. No matter what I have given up, much more has been given to me. I want nothing now, because what I have is far greater than anything the world can give to me. Everything man wants is for the purpose of acquiring happiness, so, when you have true happiness with you all the time, you do not want or need the conditions of happiness. As regards material things, I have no bank account of my own. My security in this world lies in the goodwill of men. I do not believe in any other earthly security. If one is enthroned in the hearts of his fellow beings, that is the greatest kingship. By being unselfish, wholly unattached, you will be truly happy. If you set that example, others in your family or neighborhood or business will follow you. Start with that spiritual selfishness in your life. Do away with evil selfishness, which is the root cause of all trouble, whether individual or national. Unselfishness expands the consciousness. As soon as you think kindly of somebody else, your consciousness has expanded. When you think of your neighbor, a part of your being goes forth with that thought. And it is not only thinking that is necessary but being prepared to act on that thought. Even if you have an enemy, he is your neighbor. Do not exclude anyone's happiness from the vision of your mind. In marriage is a lesson in unselfishness. Two individuals learn to share with each other. Then children come and the parents share with them. But it again becomes selfish if they think only of their own little family, us four and no more. In time, loved ones will be taken away. It is a reminder that the purpose of human relationships is to stretch the consciousness by sacrificing for others and sharing with others. There is so much happiness in being unselfish. It is the greatest happiness, for in unselfishness you guard your own happiness. My goal is the happiness of others for the happiness of myself. You can never know the joy of that achievement unless by unselfishness you include others when you think of your own happiness, not only those who are related to you, but all. Look at Gandhi. He had money, position, but he gave up everything. And his wife followed him, not even demanding a few bonds for the security of herself and her sons. They gave up all and lived for others. Having nothing, they have everything. Gandhi has set a supreme example of humility and unselfishness in this age. Jesus said, "Whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased." Egotism and selfishness must be destroyed out and out. These two kindred evils have driven from the earth the kingdom of God. The world got away from spiritual selfishness, which takes care of the entire man properly, and fell victim to evil selfishness. But you can help to re-establish that divine kingdom again, provided you make the effort. Every one of you, start by applying the rule of selflessness. Live it. Don't be afraid for yourself. Suffer a little if it is necessary, but don't give up that ideal of unselfishness. Live for others, don't think first of yourself. Show the example by giving to others. This doesn't mean that you are to reduce yourself to poverty, it means to be caring and sharing. Serve others with truth through your example. Live the principles of truth in your life, and by your example and deeds share those ideals. You cannot teach unselfishness to others unless you yourself are unselfish. Start it yourself, then others will follow suit. I have given my life to serving others with truth. I used to travel and speak before huge audiences. But I know I can better serve all through my writings. Crowds can be drawn, but they do not necessarily come to find God, rather, they come for a period of spiritual relaxation and inspiration. I am seeking souls who have a real desire for God. That is why I have always emphasized the necessity of communing with God. This is of the utmost importance. All those on this path of self-realization who will seek God in earnestness, with serious attention and continuity of devotion, and with steadiness of meditation, will find Him. Meditate. Meditate and meditate. That is your watchword. God drowns self-realization if ever it becomes an organization that is only eager to fill halls and draw crowds of people without having, foremost, the desire to give them self-realization. I have done all this organizational work because it was the wish of the Masters. I am not personally seeking anything from anybody. When I leave this earth and this body, nothing will belong to me. Therefore, I have mentally and materially renounced everything now for God. All I want from you is that you live the life of God. Learn to love God with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. You do not need any other commandments if you follow those two. What is the meaning of loving God with all your heart, and with all your mind, soul, and strength? Heart means what you feel, mind means concentration, soul means divine communion and meditation, and strength means to place all your energy on God. Therefore, love God with all your feeling and with all your concentration and meditation, reversing the searchlights of your energy and attention from the body and the world back to God. You cannot love God truly without meditation, because only by meditating can you know yourself as the soul, in which lies your true eternal relationship with God. Create in your hearts a throne of supreme love for God. There is naught else for which I live, no other ambition, but to love Him, to talk of Him, and to teach others the way to know Him. I want nothing, I ask nothing else of you. Whenever God brings me here to these meetings, it is my privilege to be with you, to speak of Him, and to love Him with you. It is so wonderful to love God and to love all as a part of God. To find Him you must feel His love in all. There is no greater force than love. If at any time you clash with others, give love to them mentally. I love my enemies because I feel them as my friends. By feeling God, you cannot hate anybody. What would happen to us if God became angry at our misdeeds? If you remain calm when others try to hurt you, then you are a God. The great God whom I worship on the altar of the sky and ocean, and on the altar of my own consciousness, He is manifest everywhere and in everyone. Him I embrace in all of His infinite forms. End of talk. This talk, Spiritual Selfishness versus Evil Selfishness, by Paramahansa Yogananda is featured in the book Journey to Self-Realization. This book is part of a series of anthologies of Paramahansa Yogananda's collected talks and essays. This talk was given in the Self-Realization Fellowship Hermitage, Encinitas, California, on June 15, 1937. Thank you for tuning in and soaking in all the knowledge and sharing it with others. Namaste.
This is a series of audiobooks and insightful lectures brought to you by Akanksha, dedicated to exploring timeless wisdom and spiritual teachings. Each recording is generated with love, honoring my journey and my connection with higher guidance, especially in tribute to my son Arnav, who now guides me from beyond. May these words awaken the divine love within you, bring you peace and inspiration on your own path, and may divine light within shine bright. May whatever merit arises from these readings be for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namaste.